What about the United States, the country the Prime Minister doesn't see? Well, he travels all around the world, changing his tune daily on missile defense, trying to assemble some kind of G20 organization. He ignores the G2, the largest economic relationship in the history of the world, the relationship between the United States of America and Canada. We will not always be able to piggyback. We will not always be able to piggyback on the United States. In fact, our free trade efforts have stalled. We see across the country disputes and obstacles to free trade rising, whether it's lobsters in Yarmouth or flowers in the Niagara Peninsula, or, of course, disputes with agriculture and softwood lumber that have only become worse. The United States has its own challenges on fiscal and trade deficits, and without new emphasis on strengthening our relationship, we can be sure that the resolution of these problems is more likely to harm Canada than to help us.
There you have it, guys. It's the big man, Stephen Harper. 10 years of stability under this man was a wonderful time to live in Canada and to really reap the benefits of being Canadian and living in this great place that we call home. So what we have here is, we have Stephen Harper just said, honestly, what I've been saying for months. We need reciprocal tariffs against the United States. Need to defend Canada's industrial capacity. Stop permanent one-way economic flows to America. And the kicker is, guys, that Harper says Canada's economic problems aren't Trump's fault. They're the result of bad decisions by our government. And this is the former Conservative Prime Minister validating an economic nationalist critique. Not just the Liberal government, but of Canada's entire approach to industrial policy for decades. And so let's go through the article real quick here, guys. It goes, Stephen Harper in remarks on Wednesday evening that Canada must protect its industrial capacity in coming free trade talks with the U.S. and be prepared to hit America with tariffs if necessary. But the former Prime Minister also warned against Canada blaming all of its economic pressures on U.S. President Donald Trump, saying past government decisions are also to blame. Mr. Harper made the remarks at the tail end of a speech at Ottawa's Rogers Centre during a gala celebrating 20 years since the Conservative Party first formed government. Sorry, I said it was in Toronto. It's in the Rogers Centre in Ottawa. Speaking at other events this week, the former Prime Minister has emphasized the need for national unity and for political parties to work together as the country's sovereignty remains under threat. On Wednesday night, he offered more tactical advice. Mr. Harper, who now runs a consulting business, said it's not a safe assumption that in the U.S. things will go back to the way they were in due course. Canada must adjust to new global realities and focus not on how the country feels about the U.S., but how it will adapt to changes there. 100%, guys. 100%. We need to stop right here because Canada must be prepared to hit back to America with tariffs if necessary. This is the former Conservative Prime Minister, not some economic nationalist YouTuber me saying Canada needs to fight back. Harper's not assuming things will go back to the way they were, guys. He's saying this is the new reality. We need to adapt to it. This isn't the first time that Trump's made some decisions. In his first term, he made certain decisions with tariffs and this and that, and Biden didn't change them. They became U.S. policy. They continued on. So this is a very astute way of looking at it because things will not go back. Because especially if the U.S. is actually making money and they're actually reshoring things, any new government, even if it's democratic, they're not going to stop doing that. This is the way things are going to continue. He's saying that, we need to focus not on how the country feels about the U.S., but how it will adapt to the changes there. So this is just being a realist in the situation that you're living in, guys. It's not let's hope Trump goes away and returns, everything goes back to the way it was, but Trump represents a fundamental shift in Canada must change its entire approach, guys. Let's see what he says next right here. So he says, in the coming talks on the United States, Mexico, Canada Free Trade Agreement, he added Canada must defend two things, its industrial capacity, and its potential to sell resources to world markets. Canada must fight against any attempt by the U.S. to bring manufacturing south. One-way tariffs introduced by the U.S. must be reciprocated, Mr. Harper said. Now, will that be costly in the short run? Yes. But what we can never concede are permanent one-way economic flows from Canada to the United States. We got to read that again, guys, because I kind of butchered it there. It says, one-way tariffs introduced by the U.S. must be reciprocated. Harper's calling for reciprocal tariffs, guys. And he's saying, will it be costly? Yes, it's going to be costly, of course. There's always short-term pain. But what we can never concede are permanent one-way economic flows from Canada to the U.S. If we're gonna be in pain, we both need to be in pain together, is what he's saying. Short-term pain is acceptable to prevent permanent structural subordination. This is key, guys. This is key. This is exactly the way an economic nationalist position is. Not free trade at all costs. Not, hey guys, we need to hope Trump is gonna, change his mind about things. But we need to defend Canada's industrial capacity, even if it's gonna hurt short term. We need to keep certain industries alive in the country. And Harper's even saying in the USMCA negotiations, Canada must defend two things, guys. Industrial capacity so that it doesn't go to the US. And the potential to sell resources to world markets, so diversifying away from the US. And this is what I'm saying, it's diversification is not a bad thing. We should be doing it because we can get market prices for oil and gas and things like that, and that's great. We need that. But if the US is your biggest trading partner, and the US will always be Canada's biggest trading partner, you need to deal with the short-term pain first before you can start diversifying away and hedging your bets in the future. This is industrial policy. This is how that stuff works, guys. This is economic nationalism, and this is it. This is that coming from a former Prime Minister of Canada. And Harper's right. If Canada accepts one-way tariffs without reciprocation, we're accepting permanent economic subordination. Resources are going to keep flowing south. Manufacturing is eventually going to move south as well, and Canada's just going to become a resource colony. That's how things are shaping up to be, and Harper understands this. It's short-term pain to prevent long-term subordination, guys. That's the trade-off, and it's the right one. All right, let's keep it moving, guys. It goes. That includes taking a hard look at past decisions. Our national conversation must be mature enough to acknowledge that many of the difficulties we now face as a country cannot be blamed on Donald Trump, he said. In too many cases, they stem from bad decisions by our own government. But he said the Trump administration is a serious challenge, and Canada must reduce its dependence on the U.S. while recognizing that by all measures of international relations, America remains Canada's principal partner. Thus, our future requires balance and sober reflection. Guys, we need to stop here because this is an important thing Harper said here. Many of the difficulties we now face as a country cannot be blamed on Donald Trump. In too many cases, they stem from bad decisions by our own government. So a former prime minister is saying, guys, we need to stop blaming Trump for everything. Canada's economic problems are self-inflicted. We didn't act on time. We didn't have a national strategy to diversify away from this. You heard what he said on the X clip, while he was in Parliament. He said we cannot be that dependent on the U.S. because at one point that dependence will blow back in our face. I'm paraphrasing. So what Harper means by bad decisions by our own government, blocking pipelines, guys. The Northern Gateway was canceled. Energy East was killed. Trans Mountain Pipeline took 7 years with a federal takeover. The result is Canada is trapped in U.S. dependence for oil exports. Bad decision number 2, guys. No industrial strategy. Auto Pact ended in 2001. It was replaced with literally nothing. The Canadian auto production is down 48%. We covered that the other day. Copper smelter closing. The copper smelter is closing with no replacement plan. We covered that yesterday. The result is we're going through a deindustrialization, literally through incompetence. Bad decision number 3, regulatory obstruction, guys. We have environmental reviews that that never end. They keep coming. Projects that are approved then canceled for political reasons, guys. Uncertainty that kills investment. What's the result, guys? We have critical infrastructure that never gets built. Bad decision number 4 is assuming things will go back to normal. Canada's entire trade strategy is based on the US remaining stable, a predictable partner. Not even a predictable in the way that we want them to be predictable. Trump is very predictable. There's no diversification. There's no plan B. The result is Trump wins, Canada has no leverage. These are all Canadian government failures, guys. And Trump's not at fault. Harper is right. And guys, we need to notice one thing, what Harper says. Canada must reduce its dependence on the U.S. How do you reduce dependence on the U.S.? You got to build the pipeline to Tidewater so you can sell to Asia. You need to develop pipelines to the east so your eastern refineries can use Canadian oil. Why are we importing oil from Saudi Arabia, guys? That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. We need to develop industrial capacity so you're not just exporting raw resources, so that we're building advanced tech using cheap materials that we have because we just have everything that we need. And then we sell it to markets and we make a lot of money. We need to create regulatory certainty so investment can actually happen, guys. This is what Harper is calling for. And it's what Canada has failed to do for decades. Right here it goes. Mr. Harper also said Canada must focus on its potential to find new markets for natural resources and get government out of the way. Canada needs more than a list of major projects, he said, a reference to an initiative by Prime Minister Mark Carney to speed up resource development. We need to reinstate the reforms our government enacted to streamline the regulatory process and deliver decisions in a reasonable time frame. Mr. Harper further called for the immediate construction of a new oil and gas pipeline, saying it was a matter of economic urgency and national unity, guys. There is simply no way to explain to people in my part of the country why a nationally beneficial project is singularly blocked by federal policy, he said. Mr. Harper lives in Alberta. Guys, and I'm going to stop here for a second because I think there's a lot to unpack here. Because Harper is getting very specific right now. He's taking some shots at Mark Carney. Canada needs more than a list of major projects. I said it as well. What good is the list of major projects if there's no shovels in the ground? If they were announced in November, it's February already. We've had 2 full months. We haven't heard of any progress made from the regulatory front to see how things are progressing on that side so that we can get shovels in the ground within a 6-month time frame. That's how fast we should be moving. No. He's directly referencing Carney's major projects to speed up the resource development. He's saying the list isn't a strategy. It's what Canada actually needs, according to Harper, is to reinstate the reforms our government enacted to streamline the regulatory process and deliver decisions in a reasonable time frame. We got to get rid of the bureaucracy. We need to get rid of the red tape, guys. He's saying that the Liberals, under Justin Trudeau and now continued by Carney, are dismantling what he was building over his tenure for 10 years. He's saying put it back. We need to get rid of the red tape. Harper enacted reforms to speed up environmental reviews, guys. He made them time limited and created certainty behind them. Trudeau's government came in, he weakened all of those reforms, he made the reviews longer and added more consultation and increased all of that uncertainty. What's the result? No projects get done, guys. Nothing. Then Harper calls for immediate pipeline construction. He's like, hey guys, it's a matter of economic urgency because it's a national unity problem because Alberta wants to split because you guys are screwing them so hard. There's just simply no way to explain in my part of the country why nationally beneficial projects are singularly blocked by federal policy, guys. Harper lives in Alberta. He's saying the federal government is blocking pipelines that benefit the entire country, and this is creating that Western alienation. This is threatening national unity. And he's right, guys. The Energy East pipeline would have connected Western oil to Eastern refineries, guys. We could have even extended it to the Atlantic provinces and created an export hub in, I don't know, New Brunswick or Nova Scotia. to send to Europe. We could be exporting oil and gas to Europe. Quebec has gas reserves. We could be building massive LNG terminals and selling to Europe, selling to the UK. God save the king, right? Why aren't we doing that? No. We can't do that. We're gonna, in Eastern Canada, we're gonna import oil from Saudi Arabia, that has to go through the Suez Canal, has to go through all of that garbage, and then go across the Mediterranean, through the Gibraltar, and then cross the Atlantic, so that Eastern Canada can get oil. But Alberta has the second largest oil reserves in the world. It has more oil than Russia, who we like to frame as a gas station economy. Guys, this is national energy security that we're talking about. It's blocked by federal policy. This is what he means by a nationally beneficial project, singularly blocked by federal policy. Canada had the opportunity to build a coast-to-coast energy corridor, guys. The federal government killed it. And now Alberta's trapped selling oil to the US at a discount. Eastern Canada imports foreign oil. We have no leverage against the Trump tariffs, and we're living through a national unity crisis, guys. And Harper is calling for immediate pipeline construction to fix this, because it probably would. It probably would, which is the saddest thing. This is how sad Canada's national unity crisis is that building a goddamn pipeline would actually solve the whole crisis. Not a major projects list. Not more consultation, literally immediate construction. Economic urgency is the key to this national unity. And guys, to tie it all up here, why this all matters to Canadians. Harper, this isn't just Harper talking, guys. Let me bring the big guy up. This isn't just Harper talking. This is validation of the economic nationalist critique from a former prime minister, guys. Harper saying what economic nationalists have been saying. Reciprocal tariffs are necessary, guys. Even if it's costly short term, we can't accept one-way economic flows. Canada's problems are self-inflicted. We have bad government decisions, not just Trump. It's the blocked pipelines. There's no industrial strategy. It's regulatory obstruction. There's just decades of failure. We have immediate action is needed. We need to build pipelines yesterday. We need to streamline this entire regulatory process. We need to diversify away from the US. Yes, we do. This is economic nationalism, guys. And this is coming from the former prime minister. From someone who understands free trade is good when it's mutual. When it's one way, it's extraction, it's subordination, guys. And Harper is right to call out the bad decisions by our government. They are bad decisions. Because Canada has made terrible decisions. We've killed that energy east corridor. I still can't believe that. We let auto production collapse by 48%. We have to. We're closing our only copper smelter with no replacement because of regulatory failure. Well, it's threatening to be closed. Let me rephrase that. The equalization funding Quebec's 62 foreign offices, while Alberta is denied pipelines. We have broken federalism, guys. These are all policies by bad government. These are all Canadian failures. This isn't Trump's fault. Trump's pressure is just exposing Canada's failures. That's all it's doing. And Harper understands this. And he's calling for what Canada actually needs. We need reciprocal tariffs to defend against Trump. We need an immediate pipeline construction to diversify from the US. And we need regulatory reform to actually build things. Because industrial policy, we also need industrial policy to stop the industrialization that's going on. This is economic realism. And then we can build an actual strategy, an industrial strategy, subsidize young talents, innovators in the country, because we're going to have all of these natural resources that are going to be flowing back into our own economy. And then we can start innovating, and then we can start value selling to the whole world. Really cool things. This is all I have for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. My name is Miloš Krajčnik. Stay informed, stay curious, and God bless Canada.
This is Canada. Maple syrup and like Captain Say. Kick your ass all hockey season, Now teach me riding horses, yeah. This is Canada.